Hoodlums and residents raid government warehouse in Abuja, steal food items. Water scarcity tightens grip on Lafia residents, raising epidemic concerns. Lagos residents voice concerns over hardship, criticize federal government's policies. On the international scene, Israel requests names of remaining hostages for potential new ceasefire deal. Good evening and many thanks for joining us on the News Hour on Trust TV. I'm Sagir Ibrahim. Now the news in details. Hoodlums broke into a government warehouse in Gwagwa Town, Federal Capital Territory on Sunday and plundered stored food items. Witnesses reported that youth raided the facility around 7 a.m. seizing bags of maize and grain. The looting persisted until 9 a.m. causing traffic congestion on Gwagwa-Karimu Road. Some residents, including those from neighboring areas, joined in the looting frenzy. The incident, reminiscent of previous raids during the COVID-19 lockdown, left the warehouse ransacked. Despite the chaos, security forces were reportedly absent during the attack. However, FCT police spokesperson SP Josephine Ade assured that police were mobilized to address the situation.
Can I call you back? I did. Man, boy, is a vessel.
And communication expert and public commentator Mukhtar Suleiman joins us now to discuss these issues. Welcome to the News Hour, Mukhtar. First, it happened in a couple of states where we saw residents ransack these trucks of food items. We had one situation around the Suleja-Kaduna Road, another in Katsina, and then here in Abuja where a NEMA warehouse was raided. What's your perspective? Would you say it has come to an extent where Nigerians have now thrown caution to the wind and are willing to do whatever is necessary to cope with the rising cost of commodities and surviving the nation as it is?
Hi, good evening. It's always a pleasure to actually be here on Trust TV. Thank you so much for having me this evening. This is not something new in the country, something that has actually happened so many times, so much at different situations whenever we find ourselves in this kind of economic circumstance. I remember back in 2020 when the COVID lockdown was enacted and people actually raided a lot of warehouses due to the responsibility of the government, I must say, because what we're seeing right now is an effect of something, not the cause of something, but the effect of some of the poor policies that the government actually sort of roll out every now and then. And being an effect, if we don't deal with the cause itself, it becomes difficult for us to address these effects. So people are actually going out to raiding food places, but I actually don't blame them. I can't blame them. People are hungry. The first law of nature is self-preservance. And because of that, people want to stay alive. I remember just yesterday I went to buy bread. Usually I handedly buy these things. I just go, I just give my card and I pay. So yesterday I wanted to buy bread and I was told that the bread is 1,200. This is a bread I usually buy 900 naira 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago when I asked, it was 900 naira. And right now it is 1,200 naira. So of course it's difficult to actually blame people for having such kind of behavior. But of course, while in the same breath, I would also say that he who must come to equity, and that's popularly said, we also need to see how we can exercise some caution as Nigerians to ensure that all of what we are doing is not going against the law, because whether we like it or not, ignorance is not an excuse, or the hardship in the country is not an excuse to also break the law on the flip side. As well, I know it sounds a bit insensitive to say that when you look at the realities of how things are in the country currently, but it's actually the reality of how the law works. So right. I think it's just something just takes Nigerians to exercise a level of caution as well.
All right, Mukhtar, would you now say that just like in 2020 during the COVID-19 pandemic, that where Nigerians complained that some of the palliative measures that were put in place by the federal government didn't trickle down to the grassroots, would you say what's happening now is also proof that some of those palliatives that the federal government had ruled out also most likely did not get to the poorest of the poor and those meant to have received those palliatives?
Yes, actually, I would say categorically, because we have this knack for subsidizing poverty in this country. I think that I can actually put it. Some of the palliative measures that the president have actually rolled out for some aspects of the federal government is just going to subsidize poverty. We're not trying to the poverty. So we have to put in long-term measures that actually there's sustainable efforts towards ensuring that people can actually climb out the poverty ladder. And we're not seeing that from the government right now. And I don't know how to go about it because, of course, I'm not an economist, but I think that certain policies need to actually be put in place to ensure that there's an overhaul in our entire system. That's on one side of the spectrum of what's currently going on in Nigeria. But some of the palliative measures that the president have actually said that they're rolling out, but we've not seen any. Basically, we've not seen most of it. The CNG bus here, 35,000 that was being paid for level 1 to level 6 federal government staff. I think it stopped for some time now. We've not seen it. And almost all of the subnational governments have refused to pay because I think they say they don't have to do that. And that's where the large impact actually is actually supposed to be felt, not here in Abuja. I think that most of these things need to be visited by the government and ensure that there's long-term measures. We know that the reason why there's scarcity of food has little to do with dollar and more to do with the fact that farmers cannot go to the farm. I know that there's a lot of arguments out there where people are actually saying that what does the price of the dollar has to do in correlation to the price of Gary in the market. I know that these are not too related, but when you have farmers paying bandits taxes and then paying the government taxes, of course prices of food are going to go up. And then you have not all the farmers going to farm and there is scarcity and it's economics, low demand and supply. When there is increased demand and short supply, prices will go up. So that's actually finding ourselves currently in the country and why the government needs to actually do more.
All right, Mukhtar, some call them hoodlums. Others say they are residents of these communities who are just hungry and are finding any means necessary to put food in their bellies. But by and large, what should be the next line of action for both the residents or the hoodlums, as it were, and also the government to see a reduction or a complete eradication of activities such as this, where you see people ransacking food trucks which were most likely procured by other persons who would also be incurring losses as a result of this?
The people want to see the government is doing their job. That's one. Secondly, you cannot tell us to adjust ourselves when you at the top are living la vida loca. I think that's something the government needs to show some level of responsibility from their own side. So when people see that they are living their biggest life, I saw a picture going around some time ago where the president's son is wearing a wristwatch worth over $100,000. I think it's quite irresponsible for this kind of flashiness to be in the media at this point. When I know that they are business people before politicians or before they became public figures or before the president won his election. But even at that, at this point, you also have to ensure that all things matter. So the kind of presence that you show would translate to let people understand that you're doing your best or you're just being selfish. So I think the government needs to actually do more in ensuring that they can manage the optics of how the government is doing its spending, of how the government is in their private lives. A lot of things, a lot of scrutiny needs to go into that. I largely believe, I think, and it's anything the AFCON actually showed us that Nigerians actually love Nigeria. We just have problems with our political structures. So I think if the government finds better ways, this is a chicken and egg situation of which we need to wait. So if the government finds better ways to actually address these issues, then we can actually see how we can actually solve those problems.
Dr. Suleiman, public commentator as well as communication strategist, thank you so much for sharing your perspectives on the issues, especially as it relates to the state of the nation, cost of living in Nigeria. Do have a good evening.
Thank you very much for having me.
Yes, and residents of Lagos State have voiced their discontent with the prevailing hardship across the country, attributing it to the impact of the economic reforms by the Tinubu administration. A cross-section, while speaking with Trust TV, say the hardship has persisted unabated despite promises by government to ameliorate the situation. Trust TV's Ajibade Praise reports.
Despite the President Bola Tinubu's assurances of better days ahead as a result of the ongoing economic reforms, residents who spoke to Trust TV News have expressed their dissatisfaction with the current situation, stating that the hardship continues to affect them significantly.
People are debating that yes, things will change for better, but things are getting worse. Prices of items are increasing daily by daily. Check out the dollar rate to naira. I've never seen a country where dollar keep on moving and the government has nothing to do about it. We are suffering, we are starving, hunger is killing us. And imagine, I could remember during the time of Buhari and Diagmo, when dollar was rising, the government did all what they have at hand to control the dollar. To say that the ratio of dollar to naira was 2:1. But now look at what is going on in the country.
It really touched me that our president is doing this to us. People are really dying. Our young ones, the ones that need to even grow up, they are dying young because of the situation, the crisis, the increasement of the goods and services of everything. It's just making people fed up. Our government to please change. They should change. Our country needs to be good.
For many, the high cost of living has become an additional burden, leading to regret over the Tinubu-led administration's unfulfilled promise of a renewed hope. They express disappointment as their expectations have been shattered by the unprecedented challenges they face. They eagerly anticipate decisive action from the federal government to address the economic challenges plaguing the nation. In comparison, some perceive previous administrations as more beneficial and effective, highlighting a stark contrast with the current government.
Tell us.
The former government is better than this government. Food is too expensive. Transport is too expensive. Food, even groundnut oil, we cannot even see groundnut oil to cook.
Because what we are facing in Nigeria now is very, very hard. Very, very difficult. Especially the poor. The young youths now, they are outside begging. Meanwhile, some are ready to steal. Stealing is going on everywhere.
I need to bring first thing that I want, money for food as a citizen. Money for food. The food will cost. Second, clothes we wear. There is no money outside. As a youth, suffering is too much.
While concerns persist among the populace that the current dire condition may persist, it is crucial for the federal government to fulfill its responsibility and provide the citizens with good governance. Ajibade Awofeso, Trust TV News, Lagos.
Thanks to Ajibade for that report. And to stories around security, the Katsina State Police Command has taken a decisive step in combating insecurity by offering a substantial reward of 50 million naira to anyone providing crucial information, leading to the arrest of two notorious bandit kingpins operating in the region. According to the police spokesperson ASP Abubakar Sadiq Aliyu, the wanted individuals, Modi and Jankare, are known to be active in Kankara and Safana local government areas. Emphasizing the importance of resident safety, the statement underscored the collective effort of the state government and security agencies in curbing criminal activities. The initiative aims to bolster security operations and clamp down on the nefarious activities of these criminal elements. Confidentiality of informants' identities are provided. Information is assured to ensure their safety. Citizens are urged to come forward with any relevant details to aid law enforcement in apprehending the masterminds behind kidnapping and banditry. With Katsina State grappling with incessant banditry attacks, the government has sought support from the federal government to address the menace effectively. Earlier, we spoke to Trust TV's Abdullahi Yamadi. He gave an update on the situation.
Well, indeed, a bounty was placed on the two bandits kingpins, Usman Modi and Jankare, by police authorities in Katsina. Usman Modi is suspected to have masterminded the recent attacks on Guruma and Lambo communities in Kurifi local government area, which led to the death of dozens of people, abduction of several others, and hundreds of animals rustled. Residents are fully aware of the activities of these two bandits kingpins, terrorizing Safana, Kurifi, and Duzuma local government areas. For instance, Usman Modi Modi is a resident of Safana who now lives in the Kabi ward with headquarters in Ummadau village. And of course, it will interest you to know that Usman Modi Modi is currently residing in the house of the village head of Ummadau after chasing the village head out of the area. The terrorist kingpin who now controls Ummadau, Zakka, Saskia, Babonduhu, and other communities in Safana local government moves freely with his followers. And because there is no government presence in those communities, Modi Modi controls almost everything. He acts as a judge, a lawyer. In fact, he tries and prosecutes residents at will. Sources close to the communities revealed that security agencies are fully aware of his whereabouts, but are pretending otherwise. Modi Modi has about 200 foot soldiers under his control and has never for one moved out of his territory, that is Safana, Duzima, and Kurfi, to any other place for the last 1 decade. For Jankari, he was a repentant bandit. He once repented and assisted the police and other security operatives in Duzima Area Command, joining the late area commander ACP Amin Umar. He hails from Safana local government at a community between Runka and Gura, and he is currently in control of all the communities in Western Safana and, of course, the Musa local government. His decision to rejoin banditry is not yet known, but in his recent video, he was shown blaming political actors for not doing anything to restore peace in the state, suggesting negotiations as an option. However, to some security experts, Jankari in that video was only trying to show that he has acquired anti-aircraft machine gun. But whatever the case may be, Jankari is in charge of several communities around Runka and Gura, all in Safana local government. And to show his might, he attempted attacking Safana town Saturday evening, but it was foiled by heavy security deployed to the area. And many residents claim that authorities are fully aware of his movement, and there is no need placing any bounty on him and his accomplices. The people in those communities have been forced to live and obey all instructions from the bandits kingpin. They collect levies, force them to work on their farms, and all other domestic works for the bandits are done by the residents. Many residents believed that the bandits are known, their locations are known, but little is being done to deal with them. So that is the current situation, and many residents are saying that it is important for the security operatives, security agencies in Katsina to know that residents are not happy with what is going on, and of course security operatives need to do what is necessary to deal with this insecurity head on for peace to continue to reign in Katsina State.
Residents of Lafia, the capital city of Nasarawa State, are facing dire water scarcity, prompting fears of a potential epidemic outbreak. The state water board's inability to pump potable drinking water for the past 2 months due to erratic electricity supply has exacerbated the situation. Many households now endure long hours searching for clean drinking water, resulting to purchasing water from vendors whose water sources are dubious. A correspondent's investigation revealed widespread distress among residents, especially women and children, who risk their safety to find water, often with little success. The scarcity has forced some to seek water from remote areas, while others rely on private water tank services to alleviate the hardship. The situation is particularly severe in Lafia local government area, where residents trek long distances to access water. Expressing disappointment with the government's response, residents lament the failure to provide essential services, attributing the crisis to inadequate infrastructure and governance. In response, residents are calling on Governor Abdullahi Sule to address the issue urgently and hold the Abuja Electricity Distribution Company accountable for the power supply challenges. The AEDC regional manager acknowledged the power generation constraints contributing to the power supply issues in Lafia, but assured efforts to improve the situation. The National State Government, represented by the Commissioner for Water Resources and Rural Development, Mr. Abubakar Akum, has pledged to tackle the obstacles hindering water supply across the state. During an inspection tour of water facilities in National North Central District, the government reaffirmed its commitment to resolving the water scarcity crisis and ensuring access to clean water for communities across the state. And authorities at the Kano Municipal Local Government Council of the state have confirmed an outbreak of measles in some parts of the local government area. The primary health care coordinator of the area, Alihu Jinjiri Kiru, disclosed this during a meeting of the Emergency Preparedness Response Committee at the local government secretariat. In a statement, the information officer of the area, Fatima Abdullahi, quoted the coordinator saying they received reports of several cases of measles and other infectious diseases from various health centers in the municipal local government area. The coordinator said the suspected affected areas with cases are Sharada, Madatai, and Gandum Albasa. He, however, called for an urgent step or response to contain the diseases. On his part, the officer in charge of disease control, Tukur Hassan, said they have already referred the cases to Murtala Special Hospital for isolation. The district head of the municipal, Madakin Kano, Yusuf Nabahani, implored all village and ward heads in the area to prioritize public health at all times due to its significance. And the House of Representatives Public Accounts Committee has instructed private airlines that benefited from COVID-19 intervention funds to refund 4 billion naira to the federal government within 1 week. This directive was issued by the committee's chairman, Representative Bamidele Salam, during an investigative hearing on the alleged mismanagement of COVID-19 intervention funds by federal ministries, departments, agencies, and other entities. Salam emphasized that the airlines must provide justifiable evidence to the committee on how they utilized the 4 billion naira received from the federal government as COVID-19 intervention funds. Failure to provide satisfactory explanations or evidence of judicious spending would result in the refund of the funds to the appropriate government coffers. Despite the appearance of airline management and aviation industry stakeholders before the committee, including aero contractors, ASMAN, Nearest, and representatives from the Federal Ministry of Aviation and Aerospace Development, many failed to provide satisfactory explanations regarding fund allocation and utilization. And the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency has intercepted a 40-year-old businessman, Ejike Chibuike Solomon, at the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport, Abuja, attempting to smuggle 1.45 kilograms of cocaine concealed in his luggage. Solomon was apprehended while trying to board an Ethiopia Airlines flight bound for Vietnam via Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. NDLEA spokesperson Femi Babafemi disclosed that the illicit substance was discovered hidden in Solomon's bag during a thorough search by NDLEA officers. Despite claiming to be on a business trip to Vietnam, Solomon was taken into custody for further investigation. In a separate operation, a special unit of the NDLEA targeted members of a syndicate dealing in methamphetamine, cocaine, and heroin in Lagos. The raid led to the discovery of 10.012 kilograms of methamphetamine at the residence of Esimon Amachuku Christopher, located at 14 Arochukwu Street, Ejigbo. Christopher's associate, 40-year-old Evelyn Nneka Okem, was found in possession of the illicit substance. Christopher is currently evading arrest. And in the ongoing war against smuggling, the Oyo Osun Command of the Nigeria Customs Service has made A significant seizure of counterfeit drugs valued at approximately 1.7 billion naira from smugglers. Among the intercepted pharmaceuticals are 7 sacks of 625 milligrams of augmentin tablets, 22 sacks of ampiclox, and 24 sacks of 500 milligrams of amoxicillin capsules. During a tour of confiscated goods since January, the Controller of Customs for the Oyo-Osun Area Command, Ben Oramalugo, disclosed that these items were discovered in Bakatari along the Oyo-Ogun border, cleverly concealed within electronic appliances. Additionally, 4 kilograms of Indian hemp valued at around 126,000 naira were seized along with used tires. Other confiscated items include 34 cartons and 5 bottles of foreign wine, 40 bottles of 5 liters foreign vegetable oil, and 344 kegs of premium motor oil.
Seizure we have made is a very, very marvelous seizure. Because if we are, and those drugs, they were heading to the north. You don't know who may consume it, those drugs. So it is good that we nip it in the bud and arrested those fake particular products. So I want to thank the officers and men that initiated this arrest. And after this press conference, we will go outside to see the vehicle and those fake pharmaceutical products. In light of the ongoing economic difficulties, we are committed to facilitating trade in essential commodities and supporting the federal government effort to enhance food security.
You're watching the news hour on Trust TV. Coming up shortly, a community that has become a safe haven for lepers in dire need of attention. These and of course many more stories after the break. Join us again. Thanks for staying with the news hour on Trust TV. Now look at the top stories again. Hoodlums, residents break into government warehouse in Abuja, loot food items. And water scarcity grips Lafia residents as epidemic looms. And to more stories now, the African Development Bank has announced a strategic partnership with Bayero University, Kano, to bolster agricultural research, aiming to bolster the nation's food security. During the 2024 convocation ceremony, President Akinwumi Adesina highlighted the urgency of addressing climate change as a global threat to food security, underscoring Nigeria's imperative to embrace modern agricultural practices.
We live in an era of climate change, and yet only 3% of African agriculture is actually under irrigation. And therefore, the issue is we have to make sure we help our farmers to know when it's going to rain, how much is it going to rain, what crops do you plant, when do you plant it, how do you adapt if the weather is not very, very good. This is all of what they are doing here, helping farmers to be able to develop, have access to technologies that allow them to be able to produce crop and to be resilient in the face of climate change. That the African Development Bank will deepen the work that they've been doing in maybe about 3-4 ways. First is we will work with them to become one of the key centers to get technologies such as water-efficient maize for farmers, to get heat-tolerant wheat varieties to farmers at the scale of millions. That's the only scale that matters. And secondly is that we will work with them to also become a center in which we can use to do modeling work so that we can know how to predict weather patterns and get that information to farmers so that they can plan better.
And Senator representing the Federal Capital Territory, Senator Ibriti Kingibe, has expressed concerns over the activities of child traffickers and activities of illegal baby factories in Nigeria. While moving a motion on the need for the Senate to take action, Senator Kingibe decried the ugly trend of kidnapping of children in the FCT by criminals, particularly in 3 area councils of Kuje, Gwagwalada, and Kwali. Providing context for moving the motion, the senator explained that on the 18th of February 2024, she received a letter of complaint bordering on the stealing, abduction, and trafficking of children by one Madam Success Wankwo of the Gwagwalada, Kwali, and Kuje area councils from the Missing Children Parents Association, a non-governmental body based in the Gwagwalada Area Council of Abuja. She noted that in the letter, the association complained that the kidnapping of children started sometime in 2018 and has continued unabated despite efforts made to curb it. Accordingly, she charged the Senate to urge the Nigerian police, the Department of State Services, and other relevant security agencies to be thoroughly involved in the matter with a view to bringing all the perpetrators to book. The lawmaker also urged the National Agency for the Prohibition of Trafficking in Persons, NAPTIP, and other related offences to, as a matter of urgency, put operational mechanisms in place for prompt responses to reported cases of human trafficking and baby factory incidents across the country. A motion was supported by Senator Tony Nwoye, representing Anambra North, who called on the Senate to rise up against the ugly incidents of child trafficking and abductions in Nigeria.
This organized crime has become a great threat to the peace and well-being of the 3 area councils and their environs, and as such, it is imperative that urgent steps are taken to address this matter. Accordingly, my prayers are that the Senate resolves to urge the Nigerian Police Department of State Services and other relevant security agencies to be thoroughly involved in the matter with a view to bringing all the perpetrators to book, put modalities in place for the recovery of the missing children, and also urge the National Agency for the Prohibition of Trafficking in Persons and other related offenses to, as a matter of urgency, put operational mechanisms in place for prompt responses to reported cases of human trafficking and baby factory incidences across the country. I so move.
Second, this motion, very important motion by my sister, Senator Kingibe. This Senate has to rise up against this ugly monster, a hydra-headed monster, as well as a cancer, that is child trafficking.
The Nigerian House of Representatives has reaffirmed its dedication to enforcing compliance with the Disabilities Act across various ministries, departments, and agencies of the government. Bashiru Daudu, chairman of the House Committee on Disabilities Matters, made this declaration during the signing and validation of a partnership charter between aviation stakeholders and a non-governmental agency at the National Assembly in Abuja. Here's the report.
The Disability Act, officially known as the Discrimination Against People with Disabilities Prohibition Act 2018, was enacted by the National Assembly to safeguard the rights of individuals with disabilities and enhance their overall well-being. However, despite its enactment, compliance with the Act has not received adequate attention since the expiration of the grace period in January. The chairman of the committee, while acknowledging the Speaker of the House, Honorable Tajuddin Abbas, for his visionary leadership in establishing the committee and assembling a dedicated team to champion disability rights, affirmed that the committee remains committed to closely monitoring government agencies' adherence to the law. This oversight extends to critical areas such as recruitment, housing, transportation, and healthcare.
So from now on, the law really takes effect. And I will advise those who are not very familiar with it to be very familiar with it, because what it does is that it not only protects the rights of persons with disability, it also promotes the welfare of persons with disabilities.
Stakeholders here expressed dismay over the lack of effective implementation of the law, which has resulted in continued discrimination and marginalization of persons with disabilities. They emphasized the importance of enforcing the provisions of the Disabilities Act to ensure equal opportunities and access to resources for individuals with disabilities.
Programs with airport stakeholders and workers, wherein a directive was issued by the Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority, putting an end to the airline operators' demand for for you PWDs to be accompanied by an aide for every traveling, and as well compliance by the airlines with said directive before close of business on the 26th of April 2022.
Section 14 is specific on the right that we have as persons with disability. One, right to accessible aircraft. So like the SSA said, we do not have to be carried like bags to enter into the aircraft. We have right to accessible aircraft, Section 14, sub 1A of the Disability Act.
And then there's something goes wrong, and maybe there's a tech on that aircraft, and they now have to send you. There has to be an aircraft swap, and the aircraft they are swapping, with does not have facility for you. Please, we always plead that you just, listen to what become. Listen to what they have to tell you, because they will always find an alternative for you, but it might not be at that moment. Because really, if there's nothing they can do at that moment, there is nothing they can do to fly you. But there are other options, options of compensations.
The signing of the charter between the aviation stakeholders and the PWDs signifies a concerted commitment to address the challenges faced by persons with disabilities in accessing air transportation and to implement sustainable solutions.
And to other stories now. Amanawa is a well-known lepers community in Kalugo local government area of Kebbi State with a history spanning 85 years. Located approximately 7 kilometers from Birnin Kebbi, the state capital, Amanawa has served as a haven for lepers and individuals with diverse skin ailments, facilitating their access to essential medical care. Despite its lengthy existence and close proximity to the state capital, this 85-year-old community continues to face challenges in terms of social and economic progress. Isho Adamu recently visited the community and compiled this report. Take a look.
Originally established as a settlement for missionaries during the colonial era, Amanawa underwent a transformation into a leprosy and tuberculosis treatment center, functioning as an extension of the Sokoto Leprosy Treatment Center. The late Emir of Gondu, Yahya ibn Haluru, conceived the idea, and it was subsequently realized by his successor, the late Emir of Gondu, Harun Rashid. Following Nigeria's independence, the first group of lepers located to the community from Amanawa in Sokoto State, marking the beginning of its role as a sanctuary for individuals affected by leprosy and tuberculosis.
Our
forefathers inherited a community that consists of 80 houses, a dispensary, garden, and large farmlands. When the community is being occupied by the missionaries, we only come for treatment. But after the missionaries left, it was handed over to us as our permanent settlement. People suffering from various skin complications are settling here for easy access to medical treatment. The community requires government intervention, particularly in the realms of education, agriculture, and empowerment. The community's dispensary, initially intended for treating leprosy and other skin ailments, is in dire need of refurbishment and expansion. Presently, only the male ward of the dispensary is operational, as the female ward had to be abandoned due to its deteriorated state. Efforts to renovate and revitalize these facilities are crucial to ensuring the well-being and access to healthcare service for all residents.
We need general renovation of our office. That's number one. Secondly, we don't have enough equipment. That's what I mean. What I mean here is we don't have modern equipment here because we go to school, we got enough knowledge for teaching lepers, but the only problem we're telling you is we don't have modern equipment. Such as we don't have sterilizer for sterilizer our equipment here. We don't have modern dressing materials here. And though those is available for us, we have drugs quite okay. As I said, state, local government, NGOs used to provide enough food, drugs, and what have you. But the main challenge is that general renovation of our clinic, and also we need to expand it.
The industrious residents of the 85-year-old community primarily sustain themselves through various means of livelihood. The capable individuals often resort to menial jobs to earn their daily sustenance, while those unable to engage in such activities may return to begging, particularly on market days. Some residents find employment in the business of firewood or engage in thatch making to support themselves. Meanwhile, the youth take the initiative in ventures such as commercial motorcycles operations and other forms of manual labor within the city. These diverse endeavors represent the community's resilience and adaptability in the face of economic challenges. Our farmlands were allocated to individuals by the local government authorities. This is a serious problem because we cannot survive without farming. We are not saying government should provide us with foodstuffs, but give us our farmlands so that we can produce what we can eat. We also need adequate drugs in our hospital. Whoever you see in this village is either a leper or a patient of skin diseases, and he is here for the purpose of treatment. So if there are no enough drugs in the hospital, then the purpose of being here is obviously defeated. Despite the presence of a primary school structure within the community, the school faces significant challenges such as shortage of teachers and the essential education materials. Aside from Muhammad Umar, who serves as the officer in charge of the community's dispensary, no resident has pursued education beyond the secondary school level. I was admitted 6 months ago, and I am getting better because the healthcare givers at the facility have been taking good care of me. I have been battling with some rashes that come out all over my chest. Alhamdulillah, the rashes have started disappearing, as you can see.
I have spent a year here. Thank God I'm feeling better. We are getting drugs for treatment. We still have challenges, but we are surviving. Before, I couldn't even walk, but now, as you can see, I can walk around on my own.
Despite the large farmlands that hitherto belongs to the community, the residents cannot feed themselves as over 80% of the farmlands have taken over allegedly by the local government authorities. According to the residents, if government can return back the farmlands, they can produce enough to feed their families. The community also appealed to the government to include its members in its empowerment programs to enable them become self-reliant. This will help the community to bail themselves out of the current situation. I am appealing to Governor Nasir Idris to come to our aid. Our people are facing serious economic hardship. Most of us cannot afford feeding our family 3 times a day. We need food and other basic needs. Successive governments have promised goodies to us, but they have failed to redeem their pledges. We do not want to go back to street beggings. In the past, government do provide enough drugs and foodstuff to the community, but unfortunately, this has completely stopped. We have to go to bush and get firewood, which we sell to feed our families. If you did not go for street begging, you have to sell firewood to feed your family. Insufficient supply of essential drugs to the community's sole hospital poses a significant challenge, greatly impacting the residents. They express deep concern that the very purpose of isolating them in the community will be undermined if the hospital continues to face shortage of medication. Without swift intervention from the government to address the pressing issues affecting Amanawa, this historically significant community is destined to remain entrenched in its unfortunate circumstances. Yusho Adam, Trust TV News, Birnin Kebbi.
Thanks to Isho for that special report. And the Akwa Ibom state government says it has taken over the disputed area in the communal clash between Ibeno, Eket and Eside-Eket local government areas where 16 persons were wounded. Governor Umar Eno, who stated that 16 persons wounded in the clash over ownership of the disputed oil-rich Stubbs Creek Forest Reserves, warned against the breakdown of law and order. Eno appealed to politicians against taking sides and sponsoring the youths to break the law, saying the government will not tolerate it. Speaking at the weekend during a visit to the affected area, the governor threatened to remove the transition chairman in any of the 3 local government areas if the incident repeats itself. Governor Eno, who announced that the government has taken over the disputed areas, said the government needs the Stubbs Creek Forest Reserve as a source of carbon credits, which would be used to create jobs for youth in the areas. He added that the new map for the state would be put on hold as the matter was in court. And the Nigerian Navy ship Beecroft Operation Delta Sanity has arrested a Ghana-owned motor tanker Sweet Miri involved in suspected crude oil theft. The vessel was arrested 174 nautical miles off the coast of Nigeria, approximately 320 kilometers, heading to Benin Republic. According to a statement on Saturday by the NNS-based information officer Lieutenant H. Ibrahim, the motor tanker Sweet Mary vessel had 13 crew, 1 Ghanaian and 12 Nigerians on board at the time of arrest. The flag officer commanding Western Naval Command, Rear Admiral M.B. Hassan, was quoted in the statement as saying that the vessel was carrying about 2 million liters of the suspected product without approval and had switched off its automatic identification system to avoid detection on February 25, 2024. Hassan also stated that the infraction necessitated the deployment of ship Abba to investigate the vessel, which was later found carrying products suspected to be crude oil, and NNS Sokoto to double up the search and interdict the vessel. On the Socio-Economic Rights and Accountability Project, SERAP has taken legal actions against President Bola Tinubu regarding the alleged failure to investigate the disappearance of a $3.4 billion loan obtained by Nigeria from the International Monetary Fund to address budgetary needs and respond to the COVID-19 pandemic. The lawsuit filed at the Federal High Court in Abuja seeks to compel President Tinubu to probe the grim allegations outlined in the 2020 Nigeria's annual audited report by the Auditor General of the Federation. SERAP is calling for President Tinubu to investigate, prosecute and recover the missing funds, asserting that such actions are imperative to address the economic crisis and debt burden facing the nation. The organization argues that the alleged mismanagement of the IMF loan constitutes a violation of public trust, constitutional provisions, national anti-corruption laws, and international obligations under the UN Convention Against Corruption. The suit emphasizes the need for transparency, accountability, and justice in handling public funds, particularly aimed amid the severe economic challenges faced by Nigerians. SERAP highlights the burden placed on citizens who are required to repay loans without benefiting from the projects for which the funds were allocated. Furthermore, SERAP emphasizing the importance of prosecuting individuals implicated in the mismanagement of public funds to deter future instances of corruption and safeguard citizens' welfare. The Nigerian Customs Service has introduced a 90-day grace period for the regularization of import duties on specific categories of vehicles. Acting under the directive of the Minister of Finance and coordinating Minister of the Economy, Wale Edun, the NCS aims to facilitate compliance among vehicle owners and importers. In a statement released by its public relations officer, Abdullahi Mewada, the Customs clarified that the initiative targets vehicles imported into Nigeria where the required customs duty has not been settled or vehicles detained due to undervaluation. Importers and agents seeking to regularize import duties are instructed to approach the zonal coordinators and CAC FCT command. They must provide necessary documentation and follow the VREC process in accordance with directives from the Federal Ministry of Finance for the registration of imported motor vehicles. This move underscores the NCS's commitment to facilitating compliance while ensuring adherence to regulatory requirements. And President Bola Tinubu has assured the international business community that Nigeria is ready for serious business, as his administration will deal decisively with any interest in the country who undermine investor confidence in the economy. The president has also pledged to remove all bottlenecks standing in the way of profitable and legitimate enterprise in the country. Speaking at the Nigeria-Qatar Business and Investment Forum in Doha on Sunday, President Tinubu told Qatari investors that Africa's largest economy and its systems are being reformed and upgraded, and asked Qatar's captains of industry to report any government official who demands a bribe or any form of inducement at any point in the business endeavor in the country. A statement from the special advisor to the president on media and publicity, Adjuri Ngelale, said the president noted that the war against corruption and insecurity in Nigeria had been significantly strengthened with the appointment of the former chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, Malam Nuhu Ribadu, as National Security Advisor. The president also noted that Nigeria possesses vast opportunities in various fields such as oil and gas and solid minerals, noting that both parties can become prolific partners in exploring iron ore as well as steel production and energy across the board.
Open for business, open for honest partnership, to assure you that the country as a whole, of over 240 million people, is ready and anxious to welcome you and your investment with open arms and open mind, to assure you that your investment is safe in our hands. We have men and women of great reputation here. I believe you forged a committee, established a good committee that will exchange ideas and continue the communication.
President Bola Tinubu there at the Nigeria-Qatar Business Forum. And away from Nigeria, mediators reconvened in Cairo on Sunday to search for a formula acceptable to Israel and Hamas for a lasting ceasefire in Gaza, with a senior U.S. official saying that Israel has more or less accepted a framework deal. Negotiations come after the U.S. military used 3 military cargo planes to airdrop more than 38,000 meals into the Gaza Strip on Saturday for the first time since the Israel-Hamas war began. But Israeli media say Hamas is refusing to confirm which of its hostages are still alive, so Israel will not attend. The U.S. says the 6-week pause would see the release of more Israeli hostages and Palestinian prisoners. And in sports, Phil Foden's second-half double gave Manchester City a win in a derby showdown against City rivals Manchester United. City came from behind to beat United at Etihad Stadium. The visitors had led through Marcus Rashford's sensational 8-minute strike from 30 yards. United boss Erik ten Hag was booked for arguing his side should have had a free kick in the City half when Rashford went down under Kyle Walker's challenge. Foden burst away from a static Casemiro to score City's second from Julian Alvarez's return pass before Erling Haaland rounded off the scoring in stoppage time after the Norwegian earlier missed an open goal from 3 yards. It was City's 6th win in 7 meetings against United, who suffered the 11th Premier League defeat of the season. And that wraps up the news hour on Trust TV. Do well to follow us across all of our social platforms and catch our live stream on YouTube for more news, programs, and documentaries. I'm Sagir Ibrahim. Have a good night.